Hello, my name is Luke. I'm one of the instructors here at the American Fabrication Academy. I'm also one of the owners and the Career Services Director. I'll be walking you guys through the school here. Hope you enjoy it, all of us. This is one of our classrooms here. We have very small size classrooms because we have very small class sizes. We like to have a small family type learning atmosphere. So we keep the class sizes to 12. They'll never go above that. We like to say that around here, you don't necessarily have to have an instructor that's way up here and a student that's way down here. Maybe we're like an older uncle of yours or something, teaching you what we've been doing for the last 27 years. It makes it very comfortable for people to ask questions and just be comfortable in class. That's why we keep it small like this. In class here, we'll be spending about 5% of the clock hours. It's a 600 clock hour program. In here, we'll be doing some basic stuff like math, fractions, decimals, thousandths of an inch. We'll be learning how to read blueprints. The best way to learn how to read blueprints is to draw blueprints. So we'll be drawing blueprints. We start out most of our projects here on paper before we go to steel. Other things we'll be doing in the classroom, we'll be learning how to use precision measuring tools. We'll be doing some PowerPoint presentations on some of the lessons that we'll be learning outside. But besides that, we're in here every morning, pledge allegiance, and usually out in the shop because that's where most of the learning gets done. When it comes to learning resources here at the American Fabrication Academy, first of all, every student has a handbook. In this handbook, there will be all the lessons that we'll be going through. This specifically happens to be on fractions and tape measure use. They'll have places to put their notes from the PowerPoint presentations that we'll be giving them. All the students have access to laptops, the Wi-Fi that we have here for their own personal devices. To continue on with learning resources, we do use software, BenTech software. BenTech is a system where we plot points in space and the computer system shows us directions on how long to cut tubes, where to mark them to bend them, and how much to bend them. It makes bending tubing very easy. Other things are periodicals. These guys are always getting new periodicals like the welder, fabricator, going over new techniques, articles about new types of machines, so we always discuss these things. YouTube, we use educational videos on YouTube, various educational videos on YouTube. Lectures are done in the classroom and in the shop constantly. Now into our welding room. This is our welding room. In here we have a ton of welders, 32 welders to be exact. We have more welders than students in here. We're not going to have anybody waiting for a piece of welding equipment like you would encounter at maybe a junior college where there's twice as many students as there are welders. You'll notice that we teach on old and new here. New digital type welders, old analog type welders. I don't know where these guys are going to work when they're done here, and a lot of places use these 30-year-old welders and they'll end up using them for another 30 years. So new and old is a theme that we run in machinery around here. A little bit about our welding. We will be MIG welding and TIG welding here at the school. We will spend most of our time TIG welding. That is what we specialize in. We'll be working with stainless steel, mild steel, and aluminum while we're here, because those are the three basic metals that most things are made of. The American Welding Society will be coming in here 4 weeks before the class graduates and certifying all of our students in TIG welding in stainless steel, mild steel, and aluminum. They will specifically be aerospace certifications because those certifications seem to get people into many different careers than just aerospace, but we do pride ourselves here in sending most of our students to aerospace to go to work. Eventually we'll get into finally building and fabricating. We'll start off very small and very simple with cubes. This is a cube made of 1/16 of an inch 3003 aluminum. It's an exercise in shearing, welding, tacking, mocking up, and making sure we have all of our right angles. This is the beginnings of fabrication because we'll be grinding away all of our welds to make it look like the welding never happened. We'll be making aluminum ones, steel ones, stainless steel ones. We'll eventually get to the plasma cutter. I like to have the guys knock me out some art before they do anything accurate. Before I have them do radiuses and straight lines, I'll have them knock out a rose for a girlfriend or a wife or something, just to get the hang of the machine and see how it works before I have them be accurate with it. The projects will get a little bit more advanced. We have box projects, more advanced box projects, like we'll be making our initials. We'll have small notching projects where we notch one tube into the other at different angles. The projects are going to get a lot bigger. Let's go into our sheet metal. As I said, the projects are going to get a lot bigger. This is a welding bench. Every student's going to build their own welding bench. It's an exercise in reading blueprints, cutting angles, cutting lengths, construction, placement, and welding. After the bench is done and graded, the student will take it home. The students are going to take home all the projects that we make here. We try to make things and projects that they'll use at home, not just basic widgets that are going to lay around. So this is our sheet metal room that we're in now. In here we'll be learning how to use all the various sheet metal working tools like shears and brakes, rivet guns, bead rollers. Over here we have some of our projects that we do. We like to start out with having these guys build a toolbox. Basic toolbox utilizing shears, brakes, rivet guns, bead rollers to put features into sheet metal and stiffen it. Like I said, we like to use a little bit of art for our learning. So I have the guys do some art pieces to learn how to use the bead roller, the brake, the shear. You can see some of the art pieces here. Before I have them do perfect radiuses and straight lines, I'll knock out a cartoon character or two just to get comfortable with the machine. To most people, you see a trash can right here. I don't. I see a pressure vessel. I see a gas tank. I see a piece of an airplane, a hood, or a dash. All the different techniques that we'll be teaching you here, utilizing the various metalworking tools to get these joints correct, weld them, grind them, buff them. All of those transfer over into the other things I was talking about, but we like to build trash cans and things like that because we'll be taking our projects home and we like to have these guys actually use them. Over here, there's a different kind of sheet metal working, sheet metal forming. So we'll be utilizing old school type tools for this. We'll be taking a piece of sheet metal or aluminum, annealing it, using a bag and hammer to actually form it. We'll be using a shrinker head and slapper to gather it up. Eventually we'll be on the English wheel using various dies to take all the blemishes out and make products that look like this. We teach this because there's a lot of patch panels on airplanes that you fly on, and it seems like the older gentlemen that are doing this in these factories and in these repair shops for airplanes, they're wanting to retire, and they can't seem to retire because young people don't seem to know how to use these old school metal forming tools anymore. So we like to throw this in there. It's not just art, it's aerospace actually. The students will be spending the first half of the course in the welding room, doing repetition is the father of learning with welding, and then starting to build all those small projects, getting better at measuring and building. Eventually, we'll be moving over into our fabrication room where the projects are going to get a lot bigger, and you'll spend the second half of the course in there. I'll show you that right now. This is our fabrication room. In here, the projects are going to get a lot bigger. The students are going to get to start drawing, mocking up, and building large projects and using all the skills that they learned over here in here. So you guys see an off-road race car chassis. That's kind of what's sitting here, but what I see, it's a lesson in tube bending, tube notching, tube placement, and construction. There are a lot of things made out of tubing besides race cars. We like to utilize motorsports around here as a teaching aid. It keeps the students motivated and happy in learning and wanting to get this stuff exactly right, because I call it like the Instagram factor. They want to make sure they get all their pictures right for Instagram, make it look all nice. But we don't necessarily send a lot of students to motorsports to go to work. It's not really the industry where you want to be making a lot of money in, because it's not kind of not possible. So the same guy that knows how to build a cage like this or a chassis like this is the same person that can build a fuel delivery system for a rocket engine. Because a fuel delivery system for a rocket engine is just a bunch of tubes just like this, bent and butt welded. They just happen to be around a rocket engine. Well, this guy right here, he's going to start out at like maybe 15, 16 bucks an hour. The rocket engine guy is going to be making a lot more to start out. He's going to be getting a 401k. He's going to be getting stock options in the company, a retirement, and a fully paid medical. These are the kinds of careers where we're trying to put people into. We just happen to use motorsports as a teaching aid to do it, to keep them motivated. Myself and the other instructor owners in here, we built a lot of toys for rich people, I like to call it, in our career. And we want to keep these guys out of it, but it's a great teaching aid. Right here, you'll see that we have a motorcycle chassis started inside of a fixture or a jig. This isn't necessarily a lesson on how to build a motorcycle chassis. It's a lesson on how to use and build a fixture or jig. So that's what we're trying to do here. Half of this chassis is going to be built by hand with a Sharpie, a plumb bob, an angle finder, and a tape measure. Very rudimentary tools that were almost used to build the pyramids. But the back of the car is going to get built with a computer program called BendTech. In BendTech, we'll be plotting points in space, turning those points into tubing and bends. And BendTech will shoot out information on how long to cut tubes, where to mark them to bend them. It makes bending very easy. But that's why we learned how to do it by hand first, because they wouldn't listen to me after I taught them the computer program. Over here is our work table where we do most of our small projects. I'll lead you guys into our machine shop here. In the machine shop, we have 4 lathes and 4 milling machines. Lathes make round parts. Milling machines make flat parts. So we make various projects here like brass hammers. These are all put together with screws and bolts. These started out as 20-foot lengths of material. They got put into the lathe, cut into a certain shape, drilled and tapped. Then we used the milling machine to slot, drill, and tap everything we needed to make a product. We make slip fit projects. We make press fit projects. The students build their own weld test blocks on the mill and the lathe here. So we're not just a welding school. We weld, we sheet metal work, we tube work, and we machine, and we fabricate. We try to build an all-around metal worker at this school that will really impress at these interviews. I always tell these guys, you'd be surprised at when you go to an interview and knock out some beautiful welds, and the guy is impressed with you, and you say, there's a mill and a lathe over there. If you give me some blueprints, I can build you some parts accurately. They'll be surprised that a welder even knows what a mill or a lathe is, much less that they could be building parts on. So that's our school here. We will show you guys the offices now, and we can talk a little bit more about career services inside. Some of our facilities. Student bathrooms look like. There are 3 of them. This is our little break area, refrigerator for the guys to keep their food, little microwaves to reheat food, and a coffee break area. Show you our parking situation at the American Fabrication Academy. Here is some of our parking spots. We'll go around this way, and we have spots out front. The city of Corona requires that we have 3 parking spots, or 1 parking spot for every 3 students. We have more than enough. We have lights here at night that are lit up, so it's nice and safe for everybody to be leaving night class. When it comes to safety at the school, on the first day during orientation, we have a safety PowerPoint. We have a safety tour as well, where we go through all of the machines here and give a general safety tour of the machines. And then the students are taught not to use any machine that's not being used for a project, even though they know how to use it safely, because safety will be gone over again when we specifically use those machines for projects as we go through the course. I'll take you outside now to show you some of our safety equipment, eye wash station, and first aid kit. This one. Little storage cabinet. Eye wash stations in each room, and first aid kits. Fire extinguishers and evacuation plan right here in every room. and your location in every room, how to get up. There is a strict cleaning and maintenance schedule at the school. We have lists for cleaning and maintenance. Every day, 15 minutes prior to the students getting off, we do a deep clean, and once a week we do a half-hour clean on Thursday. Deep clean where we move everything. Every half a year, all of these welders and machines will be brought outside. The covers will be taken off of them. They will be blown out from dust and checked for use. This is our main office.
Here we have our business office where we keep all of our files and everything that we are working on. We have our calendar as well as our starting classes. We keep our student files in these drawers. These are the actives and inactives down here. We also keep a file for our accreditation files as well as BPPE and our CSAVE files.
And our lobby. Right here is where I usually sit down with prospective students and we discuss career services at the end of a tour usually. Career services works like this. I believe that our school sets itself apart from other schools because of the way we do career services. Most schools, they care about their placement rate, and we don't just care about our placement rate, even though it's very good. We really care about the quality of work that these guys find, because the first job out of here is really going to set them off into their career. So we'll spend active school hours building resumes, researching companies. And what I mean by researching companies isn't like, hey, these guys pay this much. That's not research. Research is what year did the company open, why did it open, what family opened it, is it a private or public company, what sorts of methods do they use to work in that factory or whatever it may be, so that when these guys show up to an interview, they really know what they're talking about, they know the history of the company, and they're going to stick out like a sore thumb in a good way with everybody else that's there for that job. These guys are going to eventually blast out all of those resumes to all the places that we researched, and they're going to actively use school time to go on interviews, come back, tell all their buddies how it was. Their buddies are going to leave, come back, tell them how it was. I like these guys to do at least 7 to 10 interviews before they leave, get a couple of offers in their pocket so they can get a nice lucrative job. We call the first ones practice interviews. Also, with some of my younger students that have never had an interview before, we will be doing mock interviews. We pride ourselves, like I said, in sending most of our students to aerospace to go to work. Great companies like SpaceX, General Atomics, BNSF Railroad, not exactly aerospace, but we send people to all kinds of great companies. We don't necessarily like to send people to off-road shops and things like that to go to work. I like to say that we want them to find a good career, not just a job. Thank you very much.